very important topic in today's session, which is related to understanding the core responsibilities of different departments in an organization and how they can create conflict and the opportunities for coordination with procurement department. Understanding the relationship between procurement department and these departments is very vital for success of any supply chain, right? Therefore, it is very important. First of all, we understand what is the basis of the existence of these important departments in the organization, and what could be the possible point of conflict and coordination between procurement department and other departments. So, although there could be numerous different departments in the organization, right? But we just try to look at four important departments: research and development, manufacturing, marketing, and finance, right? So these are some of the critical departments. So after understanding this point of conflict and coordination, the core responsibilities, supply chain managers in general and procurement managers in particular, they should be able to excel their relationship with these departments and would ultimately improve the supply chain operations in any organization. So let me take you to the slide here. All right, now like I said earlier, we're going to look at these four important departments in our organization: research and development, manufacturing or production, marketing and sales, finance and accounts. So what is the core responsibility of R&D department, research and development department? So people may come up with different perspectives, right? But one thing we all know about that, if you look at the designers, if you look at the product developers, right? If you look at the industrial engineers, right? If you look at how, if you look at the fashion designers, for instance, right? If you look at their, how these people are trained basically, right? So most of the schools which train these professionals, they try to basically improve their research and development capabilities. They try to evoke their creativity. So these professionals are basically trained in making ideal and innovative products which are quite competitive, which have got no precedent. So this is the main area where they are trained in. So let's say their core responsibility is to develop an ideal product, right? Ideal product. So you must have seen that these models on the fashion ramp, right? Sometimes you're gonna come across these designers who come up with very exotic kind of products or fashion items which are generally not available at the commercial level, right? Reason being, they try to express their creativity. They would like to show to the world that what kind of creativity they might produce, right? So what's their capability to produce? So they are basically, if you look at the designers who are trained in basically design or art or schools, basic idea is to make innovative products, creative products, right? So this is their nature, right? That they try to make ideal product. Right? When they make ideal product, so what's going to happen? This generally has got some tendency in developing conflict with supply management department or procurement department. Now, if you look at this, when you develop ideal product, sometime you must have seen that industrial engineers, they develop certain robots, right, or certain industrial equipments. For those equipments, some components are quite difficult to purchase, right? They could be either very expensive or they are not easily available or locally available. So this creates a point of conflict with purchasing or procurement department. Procurement department would always first of all try to cut down the cost. So they would like to have got some products which are easily available, which are available in abundance, right? Which the products which do not cause any scarcity in future, and so that's why this generally creates a conflict between uh, research and development department, new product development department, and the procurement department, right? So first of all, the cost. So remember that when you're gonna use ideal products, when you use very highly innovative products, right? So of course the components are not easily available, right? You're gonna use some exotic items, highly customized items, so the cost gonna go up, and this became a point of headache for procurement managers. Now besides cost, there's another element which is again point of concern for supply chain managers or procurement manager, is availability of that component, right? So think about this. Because of the given situation, because of the certain political conflicts, right? Or you must have seen the situation throughout the pandemic, right? So certain materials not easily available, right? So again, the availability could be one of the major concerns. Think about this: if a source is located across the region, right, or a source is located in another continent, right? So this is gonna cause some problem for procurement department to arrange material, finding a reliable mode of transportation. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but again, this involves some level of risk. So that's you're gonna see this most of the time when you have got internal department meetings, and research and development department going to come up with some innovative products. Procurement manager would insist upon having those components which are easily available, which are low cost, right, which are highly standardized, generally speaking, right, and those which are easily available, right? So I'm not saying you should always go for this. Organization need to become competitive. They need to have got some customized items, highly innovative items. So both of them, they need to understand the requirements of each other, right? So sometime when you work out with research and development departments, you might come out with some comparative products, some alternatives, right? So you can resolve this issue by having some alternatives or low cost items, or just removing the customized components, right? So this is how you can cut down the cost. And sometimes you need to find out the product which is generally easily or closely available, so it's gonna cut down the element of cost, right? Now the next point is what is the core responsibility of manufacturing and production department. Now most of the students, they're gonna think about that the core responsibility of manufacturing department is to produce products in mass quantity, right? But that's not the case, because the product has already been developed here. So research and development department has already developed the product. They have as their core responsibility, not only they have developed the product, they have also developed the product specification, right? So they have already defined that what need to be produced and how it needs to be produced, right? So the main headache for manufacturing managers or production managers is to schedule, right? So I would say scheduling the production, right, when product need to be produced, right? What should be the schedule, right? One thing, right? So you need to arrange the machines, you need to look at the capacity planning, resource allocation, right? Scheduling of production, right? Secondly, requisition of material. Now, production department knows that what's the defect ratio in their assembly lines, right? So for instance, if you receive the order of 80,000 units, right? So they know about this, okay, in order to produce 80,000 units, there would be some 2%, 3% defect ratio, right? So they're gonna tell you the most probable material requirement, right? So in order to produce 80,000, you need to purchase items for instance, 81,000 units or 82,000 units. Was the level of difficulty in the production, and what would be the possible defects in the production lines, right? So these are the two important core responsibilities of manufacturing production department, right? Now, when you're going to look at the point of conflict and coordination, exactly the same, right? So if procurement department does not receive the schedule on time, right? Schedule on time, right? So they would not know about that when the material is required. So when they receive the schedule on time and when they receive the requisition of material, so they'll be in better position to negotiate with suppliers, right? So requisition of material, right, so is very important for arranging material for organization, because that's the core job of procurement department, right? So that's why they need to purchase material. They need some sufficient time to carry out bidding process. They need enough time to negotiate certain important deals with the. So when you're gonna get the scheduling and requisition of material at the last moment, right? They could again put a lot of pressure on procurement department. They won't be able to negotiate properly, or they won't be having enough time to carry out proper bidding, right? So this might create some conflict with manufacturing department and procurement department. And one thing we all know about this, in certain industries like glass industry or cement industry or steel industry, right? It is very important that you're going to get the proper requisition on time. Even a little bit shortage of material could be catastrophic for the whole organization. You cannot, for instance, in order to run the steel industry, you need to have a sufficient amount of raw material, iron ore, to run the whole production run. And the same is the case with glass industry or cement industry. So that's why this is very important to have got good coordination between production and manufacturing department and procurement department. All right. So let's move on towards the next important function, which is marketing. Now, what you reckon? What's the core responsibility of marketing department? Now, when I say core responsibilities, some of you might come with the idea of, all right, the core responsibility of marketing department is advertising. Some might say research or selling products. Right? One thing we all need to ask ourselves, that when you're going to call marketing manager, what's the most important question you're going to ask? Think about this. When a CEO of a company calls a director marketing, right? What's their major? Do they ask whether did you run how many ATLs you run, how many BTLs you run, right? How many advertisement campaigns, which celebrity you hired in your advertisement? No, that's not the question, right? The main question you're gonna ask from marketing manager is, what's the sale, right? So have you increased the sales or not? Have you achieved your targets or not? What's the next target? So the most important core responsibility of marketing department is to increasing the sales, right? So there's a core responsibility. That's what we should know about this as a supply chain professional. Now, what could be the possible point of conflict and coordination? Right? Now, we all know about this. One of the most important thing which is generated with the help of marketing department, which I would say is considered the genesis of any business, right, is forecasting. Right? So think about this: if you didn't receive the forecasting on time, right? So what's gonna happen? Everything would be delayed. This could create, uh, you know, a mess in the organization if forecast is delayed, forecast is not right? So getting accurate or optimal forecast, right, forecast is very important for a good coordination between procurement department and marketing department, right? So one thing. Now, so if you didn't receive this on time, this might create some problem with the uh, other departments, including production, finance, and procurement, right? So forecasting is very important, right? Now, besides forecasting, one thing we all need to know about this, uh, you know, who knows uh, if there is some material price increase, right? Who knows this? Who knows about this information in the organization, right? So we know about this. This information is always transmitted to the procurement department by suppliers, right? And this is very important. This could create some conflict with uh, procurement department and marketing department if this information is not passed immediately to marketing department. Think about this: marketing manager is cracking a deal with a client, right? And they did some costing, and they, after doing a lot of negotiation, they finalize the price and offer the certain product to the client, which has been accepted by the client, and the deal is done, right? Now, later on, marketing manager is informed that the product price or the raw material price has gone up. So what's going to happen? This is going to have got some adverse impact on the profitability of the organization. The product prices might go up, right? So it is very important to understand that sharing timely information about product prices or raw material prices, it's very imperative, right? Very important job for procurement department, and this must be shared on timely basis, right? Now, let's move on towards the finance department. So what you reckon was the core job of finance department, right? Some might say the core job of finance department is to develop budgets for different departments, right? Which is not rational, right? Every department knows about their requirements, so that cannot be done by the finance department, right? So different departments, different ministries in the government, they come up with their own budgets, right? So they submit their summaries, proposals, right? Finance department going to look at how much money we might acquire in a certain fiscal year, right? So they're going to submit both the budgetary proposals and the funds which they're going to gather in a certain time frame to the top management. They're going to decide, okay, what would be the budget of each department, each ministry, right? So one thing we all understand here, that budgeting is not the core responsibility of finance department, right? So then, what's the core responsibility of finance department? The core responsibility of finance department is the management of funds, right? So first of all, acquiring funds. Let's say, for instance, there's a certain budget which is exceeding the certain the funds available in the organization. So probably you need to borrow funds from the these capital ventures, or need to manage the funds through the for instance issuing different classes of stock, or for instance borrowing the funds from the bank. So acquiring funds on most optimal terms is a core job of finance department, first of all, right? And then, for instance, if the certain budget is approved for a certain department, right, overseeing the use of funds, or monitoring the use of funds is, I would say, core responsibility of finance department. So now, what could be the possible point of conflict, or I would say coordination, between finance and procurement department? One thing, those of you have worked in the industry, that I don't know what's the reason behind this, but finance department, they try to hold the money, right, for some reason. So for instance, if they need to make the payments, it has been observed that sometimes payments get delayed, suppliers don't get reimbursed on time, right? So think about this: a procurement department made some promises with the supplier, they got certain discount from the supplier, that supplier going to get the payment on time, right? And these payments were not made on time, and we all know about this, right? The value of money is associated with time. Today, $100 would not remain $100 tomorrow, right? So getting timely payments is very critical for any supplier, right? So I would say timely reimbursement to suppliers. If suppliers do not get their payment on time, this is going to create some bitterness in the heart of suppliers, right? So they would not remain loyal with the buyer, right? And similarly, one more point, we all know about this. There are some champions in any organization. Sometimes you're going to see these supply chain managers are champions, right? They have got they play a very critical role in the top management of the organization. Top management listen to them very carefully. They generally going to give them a lot of authority, right? They can make some critical decision without prior approvals. One thing which is very important to understand here, sometimes procurement managers or supply managers, they're gonna crack the deal with suppliers, right? And for instance, if they attend an international trade fair where they observe that suppliers offer certain products, right, certain components, that if you purchase within 3 days, right, if you place the order within 3 days, then you're going to get 5% discount, 6% discount, 7% discount, right? And procurement manager, procurement director, they crack this deal, right, without informing the finance department, right? So making any contracts, right, without involving finance department, right, this could be quite catastrophic for the whole organization. But because finance department, probably you're running short of funds, right? Finance department to arrange the funds with the help of bank, and you got a 5% discount, but you need to pay 7 or 8 or 10% interest to the bank, right? So this might again create some conflict, right? So again, one thing we all need to understand, that we should not work in silos. We should not work in the watertight compartments. Every manager in the organization, regardless of their function, procurement managers, manufacturing managers, marketing, sales manager, they are coordinators. They are not owners of the particular department, right? So they all should work for the profitability of the organization, right? They should not merely work for the success of their own department. This is going to create some major conflict in the whole organization. So if one department wins, other department loses. So it would have got some win-lose situation, and ultimately organization suffers. So this is very important that we need to have got good understanding of the requirements of each department in our organization, and have got good understanding about the possible point of conflicts and coordination. Thank you very much, and bye bye.